This is going to be on the Dungeon Master screens. I have started running a campaign with my 13-year-old and all his friends. We just had our first game last Sunday. And throughout these games that I have with them, I will create some tips that will help the game move along, or maybe just made it better, or made it better for me. And this was sort of making it better for me, so I can keep the game moving and no one's waiting on me. And this is about the DM screen. I've got this one that I had picked up from Dungeons and Dragons online. Basically, it's got some really cool artwork on it. It's got your heroes and some gold spread out, big dragon and his wings, some nasty NPCs. So I really like it, and this is what the players see, and it sort of sets the mood for adventure, even though it might not be what you're actually doing right now in your adventure. But I also like the screens because it separates me from them, so I can sort of have my own little world back here. But when you get a screen, not everything on the screen will you want. Some stuff you might feel that you don't need. And you might look at a screen and say, this doesn't have everything I want, which is fine, so adjust it. Add stuff. I added the ability modifier, so I can just do a quick look and see what bonus each stat has. Maybe add you some little notes. I covered a few things up because I didn't think I really wanted it. I added other things like lingering injuries, what spell DC is, how to get it, and what main stat a bard or a cleric or druid have, so I can know, because all my players play different characters. You can find on the internet or make your own little tables and charts. This one is like damage caused by other things like burned by coals or struck by lightning, and it tells you the dice modifier to do damage. Now this one has a really good explanations on conditions. I really like it because there's a lot of conditions and you can't remember every one of them and what each one of them means. And you might get a little confused of what paralyzed is and petrified. So you got a quick reference. You can look it up to see what your NPC or your player is getting affected by. But I've added some other things, how much a mount might cost, how much it can haul, ships, services in town, all the different damage types and what that means. And most of these, some of them I glued on with stick glue, but the stick glue really doesn't always hold. I end up with some clear masking tape and taping it down so it won't come off and it stays there pretty well. And if for some reason you're like, oh, you know what, I'm never using this chart, I want to put something else on here, or I just want to go back to what was behind it. So far, I've had one on for a couple weeks and I was like, you know what, I don't like that when I did take it off. With stick glue, that stuff dries pretty flaky, so that's pretty easy to get off. And with the tape, this is such a smooth surface that if you pull it nice and slow, the tape just comes right off. At least I haven't had anything that's been on for like months at a time, to where sometimes tape gets all gooky and sticky. But for now, it comes off real well. But if you get a DM screen, make it what you want it. Also on DM screens, you can't fit everything you want on there, so you can make your own. Now this I have just to sit flat. It's just a piece of cardboard with a black paint on it. and I just put other things that I wanted to make quick references to. This has to deal with a lot of stuff maybe outside or in a dungeon mainly. You know, it has some general features you might see that you can roll up: air effects, odors, noises, dungeon hazards, magic sources for light, just regular light sources, maybe a quick find if you want someone to find something, some audio distances, and some outdoor visibility. And then, you know, just to fill in some spaces where there was something that was a blank space, I just took some magazine clippings from a magazine, cut it out, and just put it to it. Also, on this one, I sort of just glued everything down very lightly with the stick glue, and then I got laminate paper and just placed 2 sheets right on top, sealed everything in, bent over the back edges. Also put a little bit of artwork on the back just to cover it up. But now I can just place that sort of right in front of my DM screen. And I'll have everything in front of me that I'd want. Another thing I like to have handy is your combat sequence. I blew this up and also laminated it, which this shows every step of your combat and your turn. So, and it explains each one very well, especially with all the new guys I got playing. They've never played D&D before, and I want to be able to tell them exactly what each movement means, what interaction means, what action means, what's a bonus action, what's a reaction. And this is also big enough to where I can sort of just hold it up and show them to remind them. I also do some printouts and put it with their character sheets on a regular size sheet of paper so they can refer to it while they're waiting for their turn to come up. But this just keeps the game moving. And it's a good quick reference, especially for new players. And then if you want to even just put something on the back, I put the rules of resting, what happens in a rest, long rest, short rest, a quick experience table, and a tool cost and weight table, just for a quick reference if they're in town and want to buy tools. Another good thing, so you can pass it around when someone's got questions about their strength or dexterity or their constitution or their intelligence or their wisdom or their charisma, is I laminated these 2 pages together. And good thing about the laminate is it's pretty durable. I mean, it doesn't crinkle up very bad. It can be passed on. If you spill something on it, it ain't gonna ruin it. But you can just, when someone has a question, what all can I do with my strength checks or dex checks, you can just pass it to them, let them read it real quick. Or in case you need a reference to, you know, is that a constitution check or is that a dex check? So you'll have it. Last but not least, I made a folder, and, you know, of course I just grabbed some artwork out of magazines and stuff and added to it. But everything you might come across, like books and scrolls and tomes, you got a little rolling chart for it if you want to, if you don't already have it planned out in your story, or you just want to roll something random. But you can also just take a folder, cut it the sides, undo the little staple in the middle, and you can just open it up. And then on here, you have your elemental evil trinkets, your regular trinkets. You know, you can roll for that, 1 through 100 die. And then if you want to figure out what that trinket does, you got the effect. 1 through 100 die, continues on to the back. So now you got a quick thing if someone's like maybe underpowered and you're like, well, let's see if we can get them a trinket that might help them out. You can just pull this out, got you a table, roll it up real quick. Hey, look what you found. Easy as can be. But that's it. Just quick reference tables to get your game running more smoothly. And especially with new kids who are trying to learn how to play, who never played before, And I really want to do this with my 13-year-old and his kids. So we got 13 to 15-year-olds playing. I usually got about 5. And, it gets them out of the video games into a real life scenario of being with people and using their imagination. And I think it really helps in just regular social skills instead of talking through someone through a mic all the time. So if you are a dad or a mom who grew up doing D&D and want to get your kids involved, try it out, test it, see if you can get him and his friends to play. And they've been really excited. We had our first game last Sunday. They loved it. Can't wait for this Sunday. So doing good. So throughout the time I'm doing this with these group of boys, I will figure out stuff that might make the game go easier, or maybe if I alter something in the game to where that makes it easier, I'll bring that up and show you in my next video. But until then,